This is Alai Online Radio TV. Good day and welcome to our news update. Here we bring you combination of major stories from around the world and important developments from Western Nigeria. Stay tuned as we'll keep you updated. Here are the news. Iran war. What is happening on the day 15 of the US-Israel attack? In details, the United States-Israel war on Iran, now in its third week, continued to escalate after US force struck military targets on Kurd Islam, the critical hubs through which most of the Iran crude exports pass. US President Donald Trump said Washington deliberately spared the Islam oil infrastructure but warned that it could be attacked if Iran interferes with shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran, meanwhile, has warned that any attack on its energy facilities would trigger retaliation against regional oil infrastructure, and US are linked asides, raising fear of a wider energy and security crisis across the Gulf. Joint attack. Iran Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps (IRGC) earlier said that it has launched missiles and drones at the Israel coordination which Tehran Lebanese proxy Hezbollah. The IRGC said in a statement that the operation was part of the annual Equad Day, which is intended to show support for the Palestinian cause. Iran's supreme leader has wounded. US Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth said they believed Iran's new supreme leader Mojtaba Khamenei is wounded. We know the new so-called not-so-supreme leader is wounded and likely disfigured. $100 million reward. The U.S. Department of State offered $100 million reward for information about Khamenei and other top officials. U.S. attack on Kurdish land. Trump announced that U.S. force has bombed Iranian military installations on Kurdish land, which he describes as Iran's crown jewel. The Islam is critical to Iran's economy as approximately 90% of the country's oil exports pass through it before traveling through the Gulf and Strait of Hormuz. Casualties rise since February 28. At least 1,444 people have been killed and 18,551 injured in US-Israel attack on Iran. Iran war. US bombs Iran Kurd Islam. Warns oil facilities nest. In details, President Donald Trump said US force obliterated Iranian military targets on Kurd Islam, located off the west coast of Iran, and warned oil infrastructure there could be attacked. Iran officials said the helipad at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad was struck in a missile attack, the Associated Press news agency reports. Al Jazeera correspondent in Tehran say hot blasts rocked central Tehran after thousands rallied in Iran capital in a show of support for Palestinians and in defense of attack by the US and Israel. US-Israeli strike has killed almost 1,450 people in Iran since the war started on February 28, while an Israel attack on health center in South Lebanon killed 12 medics as the death toll there from Israel strike has risen to 773, including 103 children. Countries across the Gulf region, including Qatar and Bahrain, issued evacuation warning an Iran continued missile and drone attack. The offer pales inside cash, the beating heart of Iran oil empire. In details, Bennett, the scorching sun of the Gulf, the remit hordes of million barrels of crude oil rushing through subsea pipeline vibrates against anxiety coral rock. Here, the celebrated Iranian writer Jalal al-Hamad once stood, gazing at the isolated shores and famously dumped the landmass, the upper pearls of the Persian Gulf. Shrouded in intense secrecy and guided by the elite Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps (IRGC), It is a place where the entry is strictly restricted to those with official security clearance. Yet, beyond the imposing steel fence and military watchtower lies a pristine landscape, while millennia of diverse human history quietly coexist with the beating heart of Iran's modern energy empire. In the earlier hour of Saturday, March 14, Qaj Islam became the latest epic center of the US-Israel war on Iran after United States President Donald Trump announced that his country's air force has bombed military facilities on the Iran Islam. For reasons for decency, I have not chosen to wipe out the oil infrastructure under Islam. However, should Iran or anyone else do anything to interfere with the free and safe passage of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, I will immediately reconcile this decision, Trump wrote on Truth Social. France ready to host ceasefire talk between Lebanon and Israel. In details, French President Emmanuel Macron says he is prepared to facilitate talks in Paris between Lebanon and Israel. In a post on X, Macron said he spoke to the Lebanese president, prime minister, and permanent speaker on Friday, and they were open to direct discussion with Israel. He called on Israel to abandon its large-scale offensive and ongoing attack, and for Hezbollah to stop its reckless escalations of the conflict. Israel must seize this opportunity to launch talks and a ceasefire, finding a last solution and allow Lebanese authorities to fulfill their commitment in support of Lebanon's sovereignty, he wrote. Missile attack on U.S. embassy in Baghdad raised Iran's security concern. In details, we understand that the unit linked to the Syrian air defense system at the U.S. Embassy compound in Baghdad was hit by a missile today. So far, no group has claimed responsibility for it. However, Iran-aligned army group known collectively as the Islamic Resistance has umbrella group that including multiple Iran-aligned militias have targeted U.S. facilities, military bases, and interests in Iraq dozens of times since Iran's military campaign began. In fact, the group has pledged to avenge the death of Iran's late supreme leader Ali Khamenei, to whom they pledged allegiance. Yesterday, Islamic Resistance in Iraq issued a statement offering $100,000 to anyone who provide information leading to the capture or targeting of U.S. military intelligence personnel. His attack also came amid multiple drone strikes, attack and counter-attack by Iran-aligned army group targeting U.S. interests as well as Iran Kurdish opposition group in northern Iraq. Meanwhile, U.S. and Israeli forces have carried out military strikes across Iraq. Middle East conflict rattles U.S. market as oil top $100 parry. In details, Middle East conflict is continuing to rattle global financial markets in the U.S. with higher oil price raising concern about inflation. U.S. market ended in negative territory under pressure from rising oil prices. The benchmark S&P 500 stock index closed down more than 0.5%, hitting its lowest level so far this year, while Brent crude oil is again topping $100 a barrel. Double what it was a month ago. It has been a volatile week as investors react to the latest move and expectations in the Middle East conflict. The longer the conflict continues, the greater the impact on overall economic. There is a rising concern on Wall Street about the potential for stagflation, where inflation remains higher while growth slow. Data released on Friday trend to show that growth has been slowing in the United States, causing investors to downgrade expectations that the Federal Reserve will reduce interest rates this year and that the markets will continue sliding as long as the conflict persists. Diving According to the Western Nigerian, man stabbed friend to death in Ondo State. In details, the police command in Ondo State have arrested a suspect, Johnson Daniel, for allegedly stabbing an 18-year-old boy, Ariyo Timileyin, to death in Owo local government area of the state. The command spokesperson DSP Abayomi Jimoh disclosed this in a statement issued on Saturday in Akure, the state capital. Jimoh said preliminary investigation indicated that the victim was allegedly stabbed during an argument with the suspect. The command has confirmed the arrest of a suspect in connection with the alleged murder of Ariyo Amos Timileyin following a violent altercations in Owo, he said. According to him, the victim was rushed to the Federal Capital Center (FMC) Owo, where a medical doctor confirmed him dead on arrival. Jimoh added that the police detective visited the scene of the incident and recovered the knife suspected to have been used in the attack, while the suspect was subsequently arrested. The case has since been transferred to the State Criminal Investigation Department for future investigation, he said. The police spokesperson said the command commiserated with the families of the deceased and urged members of the public to avoid violence in resolving disputes. Meanwhile, the news agency of Nigeria gathered that the victims and the suspects were known to be close friends and were frequently seen together around their neighborhood. Lagos father in court for defiling daughter. In this news, a 44-year-old trader Ebere Ezitoa was on Friday arraigned before an Ikeja Chief Magistrate Court for allegedly defiling his 4-year-old daughter with his finger. The prosecutor Adegoke Ademigbi told the court that the child mother caught Ezitoa inserting his finger into the girl's anus after hearing her cry. According to the news agency of Nigeria, Ademugbuji said the accused committed the offense on February 14, 2026 at his residence at 35 Prince Ibe Arizis Crescent, Ego Palace, Lagos. He added that the act contravenes Section 135 of the Criminal Law of Lagos State, 2015. The defendant pleaded not to be guilty charged. However, the Chief Magistrate Omolara Gushanu granted him bail in the sum of 500,000 naira with 2 sureties and adjourned the case until April 9, 2026 for mention. Night hawks, Travails of Lagos kids trading childhood to survive. In details, across Lagos, nighttime trading by minors has become a familiar sight, placing children and teenagers in vulnerable situations on busy roads despite the state child rights law prohibiting exploitative labor and street hawking by minors. As the sun began to set by 7 p.m., the familiar evening rush has begun to settle over the Iyanapaja market in the Alimosho local government area of Lagos, one of the busiest commercial hubs in the city. The roundabout leading in and out of the market was already thick with traffic as yellow buses, private cars, and commercial tricycles crawled through the busy junction. Roadside sellers weaved through vehicles stuck in traffic, pedestrians moved in clusters along the road, some hurrying home from work, others pausing briefly to make last-minute purchases before heading home. Even as night falls, the sidewalk remained crowded with traders calling out price and chatter of commuters trying to beat the late evening rush. Between 12 p.m. to 9:30 p.m., Saturday News observed that the rims of the market unfold over the course of 7 consecutive evenings. The pattern remained the same. Amid the hustling and bustling, a different layer of the night economic emerged right in front of a popular bank just after the roundabout. A group of underage vendors were gathered, calling out to passers-by to come buy their wares. Each of them had a small paint bucket filled with orange, cherries, and vegetables and scurrying along slow-moving vehicle while they carried bundles. They moved quickly from one passers-by to another, pleading softly for sales. That brings us to the end of our news update. I am Oluwatoyin Elebuti. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more at Alliance Online Radio TV. Thank you for watching.